In today's video, we have the Galaxy A07 versus the Galaxy A17 5G. Stay tuned. Alright everyone, hopefully guys are having a good day. Hopefully everyone is safe out there with the brand new Galaxy A07 in the house versus the Galaxy A17 5G right here. Not too much of a price difference in general. I picked up the Galaxy A17 5G for only $200 and I picked up the Galaxy A07 for about $140. So in the US right now, you can pick up each of these devices for those respective prices. But we're going to go over some of the specifications. We're going to go over some of my experiences with these devices, as well as talking about the cameras and other things like that. But let's go ahead and start out this video. First and foremost, starting out with the displays on these phones, the Galaxy A07 is going to have a PLS LCD display, 90 Hz refresh rate on this, so it's great that we saw the upgrade from the Galaxy A06 from only 60 Hz. However, this is only going to be a 720p display, so only HD plus on this display. We also have a 6.7-inch display on this, which is mighty long. So a very long phone right here. Going over to the Galaxy A17 5G, we actually have a Super AMOLED display on this device, so it's going to look a lot better. It's of course going to have the better viewing angles on this. If you guys notice on the Galaxy A07, it does fade out a little bit when you turn it from left to right. So that's one of the downfalls about the Galaxy A07. I can't knock this much because it is a lot cheaper though. But of course, that quality of life feature right there, Super AMOLED display. This is going to have a 90 Hz refresh rate as well. This is going to be full HD though, instead of HD plus. And this is also going to include Corning Gorilla Glass Victus, which is a lot stronger of a glass than we have on the Galaxy A07. Both devices do have IP54 dust protected and water resistance. Not the craziest IP certification out there, but I'm glad I have it on both these devices. Both devices also have Android 15 up to 6 major operating system updates, One UI 7.0 of course. However, the Galaxy A17 5G is actually going to have circle to search and some other artificial intelligence that the Galaxy A07 does not have. The other really big difference as well is the Galaxy A17 5G is going to be capable of NFC, that means Google payments, and this is also going to have a gyro sensor in this phone, so if you play any video games or do any activities that utilize the gyro sensor, the A17 5G is going to have that, and it's also going to be able to use Google Wallet with those NFC payments and stuff like that. The Galaxy A07 does not have that inside of there. Also, getting into the internals on this device, the Galaxy A07 has 64 gigabytes of internal storage, and the Galaxy A17 5G has double at 128 gigabytes of internal storage. So double the storage on the A17 5G. Both these devices also include expandability via micro SD cards, so we can expand our storage, I believe, up to 2 terabytes on both of these devices. So beautiful to see that. The Galaxy A07 has the MediaTek Helio G99, and of course, the Galaxy A17 5G has the much more capable processor, the Exynos 1330. And with the Exynos 1330 on the Galaxy A17, of course, this has a significant advantage in terms of offering 5G connectivity, a more advanced Mali G88 GPU, a higher memory bandwidth due to its smaller 5nm processor, and its contrast between the MediaTek Helio G99 as an older 4G chipset with a smaller Mali G57 GPU, but boasts a higher CPU clock speeds and performs better in floating point computations. However, in my use, I would say that the Galaxy A17 5G in general has been a better operating processor in daily use. So going through the UI, scrolling through Instagram, playing video games, the Galaxy A17 5G with the Exynos 1330 is definitely going to be the more capable processor out of the two. Now, as far as the base RAM, both these devices do have 4 gigabytes of RAM in their base models. However, the Galaxy A17 goes from 4 to 6 or even 8 gigabytes of RAM. So you guys have more RAM options when it comes to the Galaxy A17 5G. Now, getting to the cameras on these devices, the Galaxy A07 is going to have a dual camera setup, so only 2 cameras, and the Galaxy A17 5G is going to have a triple camera setup on the back right there. Now, for the Galaxy A07, we're going to have a main 50 megapixel wide angle camera, and of course our secondary 2 megapixel depth camera, capable of recording at 1080p at 30 frames frames per second. And of course, this is also going to have a front-facing camera utilizing that Infinity U display that is so outdated in 2025. Please change this, Samsung. But 8 megapixel front-facing camera, wide angle. Of course, 1080p 30 frames per second is going to be the restriction on this as well. Going over to the Galaxy A17 5G, our main camera is going to be a 50 megapixel wide angle camera. Our secondary camera is going to be a 5 megapixel ultra wide, and our third is going to be a 2 megapixel macro. So if you guys like taking up close photos of flowers or other stuff like that, this is definitely going to be the camera for you. And in comparison with both of these phones, I would say you get a lot better color reproduction when it comes to the Galaxy A17 5G. You can really see the Galaxy A07 struggle behind the Galaxy A17 when it uses its computational photography to try to keep up. So it blows a lot of stuff out of proportion. As you guys can see, these plushes, it's making Pikachu a lot more yellow on the Galaxy A07 than it is on the Galaxy A17. So a lot better color tones and color reproduction, and even clarity when you zoom in on these photos when it comes to the Galaxy A17 5G. However, I'm going to do a full camera comparison between the A07 and the A17, so stay tuned and subscribe. Turn on notifications for that. You're not going to want to miss that video. And on the video end of things, the Galaxy A17 5G can shoot at a max capacity of 1080p at 30 frames per second. One of the things I can say that's not really too good about both the devices has to be this juddering effect when we're panning across a field, but we'll talk about that later on. So those are the cons I have to say about these cameras. Other than that, pretty solid cameras for their price tags. Now, getting into the audio portion of this video, the Galaxy A07 is going to have a headphone jack, and the Galaxy A17 is going to leave that in the past. So no headphone jack on the Galaxy A17. However, when it comes to speakers, both these devices only have one speaker, so no stereo speakers on both these devices. We're not going to be using the headset as a secondary speaker on any of these. However, the Galaxy A17 5G is going to give you a lot more of a richer sound. It's going to give you actual bass, because the A07's bass is absolutely non-existent. Galaxy A17 5G has a much better sound all around compared to the A07. So better speaker goes to the A17. The A07's is just really, really bad, in all honesty. No bass, no fullness, no nothing really. There's a speaker there though. Both actually have a solid side fingerprint sensor as well. And as far as the battery goes, both devices have a huge 5,000 milliamp battery and a 25 watt wired fast charging experience on both these devices as well. However, depending on what region you're in, I'm in the United States of America, both these devices did not come with a charger. You hate to see it. So if you're asking me which device I would go with, I would pay the extra $60 and go with the Galaxy A17 5G for sure. This is going to offer you more storage. This processor inside this device is going to actually handle the 7 major OS updates on this device. Maybe not all 7, but at least a few of them compared to the Galaxy A07. This is also going to have a better display on this. And of course, we get some of those artificial intelligence features thrown in on the Galaxy A17 5G. So the winner of this competition has to go to the Galaxy A17 5G.